Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and this podcast is dedicated to educating and empowering women from preconception, pregnancy, birth, and through early motherhood on wellness lifestyle. I'm your host, and I am a maternity pediatric chiropractor and mother who has hand-selected experts in natural, holistic healthcare specialties to shine light on options and choices during this exciting phase of a woman's life. And today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing best-selling author of the Spend Then series. She's a forward-thinking entrepreneur, Paige Cornetet. And she founded Millennial Guru at the age of 26 to provide companies like Kroger and Capital One with business coaching and strength-based team building workshops. She's the eldest of four, and she's passionate about helping parents teach children imperative life skills and financial management techniques. She lives in Grand Rapids, Michigan with her husband, and you can find more information about her at mydadsclass.com. Today, we're going to talk about teaching your kids about money and her newest book, My Dad's Class, An Intentional Structure for Teaching Kids About Money and Life, is going live today, June 21st. Hi, Paige. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thank you, Laura. I can't wait to talk to you about my dad's class and all about the different topics within the book.
So this is a brand new book that's just coming out, which is very exciting, called My Dad's Class, An Intentional Structure for Teaching Kids About Money and Life. And we're going to just start at the beginning. Who are you and who is your dad and why did you write this book?
Yeah, so my name is Paige Cornetet. Never forget it. It's hard to pronounce. And I grew up with an amazing father and mother. And my dad was really intentional about teaching us four kids. I'm one out of four, all about life and finance and all these different aspects like involved in that, because those are really broad topics. But I think the really cool thing about my dad was that he started really young. I was like 3 years old, we started this, and it evolved as I got older. And then we had a structure to it. So every Saturday we'd grab our notebook and our pen and come sit down and we'd have some sort of 20-minute lesson about stocks, about economy, about owning your own business, all these various topics that he felt was really important for us kids to learn at an early age, which was so amazing. And I think the really big highlight of my book is just that your kids are going to learn from you no matter what. So why not be intentional of what you want to teach them?
That is so true. And that's regarding everything in life, not just finances. So obviously your dad was an expert in finances, financials. Yeah. So what's his background?
Yeah. So he stepped into our family business. He's third generation.
Wow.
He was actually 15 when his grandfather was sending him letters and had to read through them, but truly stepped in when he was 20 years old and just really took the family business to the next level.
Wow.
And it was just amazing because they always say, oh, the third generation, messes it up and is the dangerous one.
Yeah.
But he really was able to grow it and take advantage of what the foundation was already there and just maximize it. And on top of that, not only just like the business side, but also he sat with his grandfather and every morning they'd go over and pick individual stocks. Now, this was like back in the day when they had a plan for the employees, like not the 401k. This was like actually, okay, your boss was your investor.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And your actual boss. So they were able to, have these sort of open conversation. Are we going to buy Merck? Are we going to buy Pfizer? Like what pays really good? Like what sort of companies, and take ideas from those companies. So he's an amazing businessman, but then on top of that, an investor as well, from learning from his grandfather, my great grandfather.
Wow. And your grandfather was self-taught?
Yes. So my great grandfather, his name was Arnold Bjork. He was self-taught when he was 15 years old. His father died. He had 6 younger siblings, and his mom was like, "You got to go support the family." So he knocked on the third door, and it was an upholsterer, and started working for an upholsterer. And then when he was 40 years old, he actually sold some of his stock to buy the family business that we still have today, which is amazing. So like almost 100 years ago.
He bought the upholstery business?
Yeah. So he bought his own upholstery business.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
That's the one that he worked at.
Correct. Yes.
Oh. So he took over an established business, is what you're saying. Oh.
Yes. And textiles has been, that's an old, everyone needs goods for their home and couches and sofas and things like that. So we've been in the trade for a long time.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Yeah. So it really speaks to not just like understanding money, but also the ethics and the drive, right? The work, the mentality that goes behind providing and responsibility, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. I think that throughout my book, there's a lot of wisdom within that from just like the generations passed down from even, my great grandfather Arnold to my grandmother, his daughter, to my father. And just telling those stories, I think, is so valuable within your family of like where we come from and what are those lessons and what are those messages. Like, for example, my grandmother always heard that it's better to be a lady of the evening than to touch your principal. And I kind of dive into that of like the layers of like the gender. And it's like, we always laughed about that. Like, oh, that's funny. Like be a lady of the evening and not touch your principal. But there's a lot of shame behind it, a lot of emotion to be a woman and like not spend your money. Right.
Was your grandmother involved in the business?
She was not. Nope. In that era, women weren't really involved in the
So was her husband involved?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
My dad's dad. Yep. So the son-in-law came into the business. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the cool thing too is that my sister now is running the family business. So it's like male, female. Yay.
Right. Your grandmother, she's doing what your grandmother was not able to do.
Yes. Which talk about a legacy. It's just really impactful. And also the legacy of my father to teach his daughters this sort of knowledge and information. I mean, he was never like, I have a younger brother, never just like, oh, my brother's taking over the business. So
Right. That's fascinating. So talk about why you wrote this book.
So in 2020, when I was pregnant, I was and locked down as the whole world was in the pandemic. I was really thinking about like, well, how do I want to be intentional as a mom? And, what sort of values do I want to impart with my husband, of course? And just like, what sort of teachings do I want to teach? And I went back to my roots of like, well, what did I learn and how did I learn it? And I thought that by writing this book, I could not only help myself understand, what my upbringing was like and how impactful it was, but also help other young families or families that are getting started to really think about these big questions of, what do I want to teach my children? How do I want to teach them? And, what's important that they learn from me, especially with that intentionality. So, and I've been thinking about this book for a long time, but the pandemic did help me sit down and get started.
So you're not the only person that had, positive impact from the pandemic, where essentially your schedule is cleared, you're home, and you have nothing else going on. So it's like, why not create, right? Why not birth something into the world that you've wanted to do for a long time?
Exactly. There was a lot for me. Like that was remarkable to just have free time and just nothing time, right? To think and create. Yeah. It was like, oh, this is so amazing. Like I have time to do it now.
It really is. And, Yeah, a lot of cool things have come out from the past couple years with the pandemic, So, I feel even for me, like I was like overscheduled, and once my calendar got cleared on my behalf, I got to be intentional about what got added back in, when things started opening up, and it was like, oh, I don't need to schedule that again. Like I just have been, and it was just a habit or routine. And now I can really decide how I want to use my time.
Mhm. Yeah, but the prioritization, I think, of people's time was a really big awakening and shift of like, why did I do that? Like, what is that important? Like, does that even matter? And if the answer is no, which I think for a lot of people that happen is like, let's just get rid of that. Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing? So
Yeah.
let's
It's so true.
prioritize. Yeah,
Yeah.
family and what's important. So yeah.
So talk to me about your dad's class. You guys met like once a week. It was your dad and the 4 kids. It was your mom there?
She was, yeah, but my dad was always leading the
He
class.
was the teacher.
He was the teacher. Yep. He had always like a easel stand or some sort of prop. He did a lot with different like coins or jelly beans when we were little, like the whole marshmallow test where it's like, oh, we use jelly beans instead of marshmallows, but like if you leave it, and then the delayed gratification, and understanding that concept. And then he transferred it to like the golden dollars, which is like, oh, for a kid getting golden coins is so cool. And he's like, yeah, here's 10, which is $10. And you can either take it and spend it today as we go shopping, or you can hold on to them. And then next week I'll double. So I'll give you another 10. And I loved it. I was like, oh, I'll hold on to I want another, 10 gold coins. So things like that, as well as just like what sort of investments we had, what sort of companies, and what did those look like? And I think the big aha moment for me was when we did dad's class and we're talking about the PE versus the dividend and our 10 stocks that we owned. We had to memorize them like McDonald's and Merck and GE and all of that. We went to McDonald's and BP was one of them. So we got gas, and then we went to McDonald's. And my dad's like, okay, so we just paid money for, the McDonald's French fries and ice cream, and we're owners of this larger company. And I was like, what? So did we just get that for free? So it was a real click for me at 12 years old that, wow, like this is important. And this is really cool I'm an owner of a company and I'm making money and I didn't even do anything. Like, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really aha.
Yeah, I was wondering if there were any field trips. So you just gave an example of one. What about like when it was time to open your first checking account? Like I remember that for me, it was a big deal to go to the bank and open an account.
Yes.
As a minor.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So my dad had us start even younger, and he had a whole like Cornetet bank, and we had just this Tupperware, and we had our own ledger, and however old we were, we would get every Saturday. So if I was 7 years old, I get $7 and I'd tally it up, and you could use the money and take it out, but that was not fun minusing it for, whatever you wanted to. So by the time I could open up my own checking account, I want to say that happened when I was like 13, 14. I already understood the concept of banking and how it worked because we had already practiced that for many, many years. So it was just like, oh, this is cool. Like, I know how this works. Like, how much interest are you guys going to pay me? Because Cornetet Bank pays me 10 quarterly. And banks pay like 0.
10%?
So yeah, because he wanted us to visually see, like, I wish I could invest in the Cornetet National Bank today.
Yeah, right? That's a nice interest rate.
Yeah, exactly. I know, 10%, like huge.
So it sounds like your family's version of a piggy bank was you could see the money. You knew exactly how much was in there. If you wanted to take money out, you knew exactly what your balance was, just like a checkbook ledger, where I guess the average piggy bank is not see-through. You have no idea how much money is in it. If you take money out, you have no idea how much is left. It's not as straightforward and organized.
Sometimes you have to like break the piggy bank too to like access it. So yeah, my parents made it very like hands-on experience for banking so that we understood what that was, the transactions behind it and the savings. And it was very a self-empowering thing too, as you're adding up and you're like, oh, okay, like, oh, maybe I'm, 10, 11 years old, and I have $200 in my bank. Like, wow, like it's a lot of money, for a little kid. And to know that you did that and you saved it and you didn't take it out and spend it on, an excursion to the bookstore or whatever was like very rewarding too.
So let's talk about your weekly allowance. And I have a 4-year-old son, so I'm also asking as a parent, because I will tell you, my son loves to shop. And he's like, if he could go to Target every day and buy a new toy, he's all in it. And, on mom and dad's dime, right? But it was cute. One time he's like, I really want to buy a unicorn for Carolina, who's his favorite girl. So I said, you have to spend your own money. And he said, okay. And we went to Target. He picked it out. And we got home. He dumped his whole piggy bank out. And he's like, take it. It was really sweet. Oh. But regardless, he doesn't fully get the whole financial concepts yet. So I'm ready to teach.
Yeah. So I would say start with, this national bank concept, just because he's 4.
Yeah.
He understands transactions. Kids are smart.
Yeah.
People are always like, oh, they don't know. It's like, yes, they understand. They're the best negotiators out there.
Such a great negotiator.
More than like adults. It's like they understand, the trade, the business of the trade. So in terms of the bank, and you can structure it however you want, but how we did it was, however, we never got an allowance. It was just every Saturday we got however old we were. So
that wasn't like for chores, like there was nothing you needed to do except be a child in this family and be that age, and you would get that number of dollars weekly.
Correct. Yep. So chores were just a responsibility. Like you're a part of this family. My dad, as we got older though, did add, washing the car, like bigger chores. And then he would price it, whatever, like $10 or whatever.
And that would go in the bank too.
Correct.
Got it.
Exactly. So if you wanted to earn money, you already had kind of your salary of your age. And then as you wanted to earn more money, and we could ask our parents like, hey, I want to make more money. Like, what can you offer me? So again, negotiation, like we totally could ask that. And
I like that. Or if they're a little bit older, like walking the neighbor's dog and things in the neighborhood that neighbors can pay for those chores or, babysitting, things like that.
Well, and talk about like starting entrepreneurship really young.
I love that.
Like, so there's so many, as you can see, layers to it too, with setting it up that way, where it's like, okay, we're understanding how a banking system works. We're understanding that a salary and saving our money. And then we're also understanding like, how do we earn money? Like from mom and dad or, neighbors, or being creative in that space too. And with having a 4-year-old, you totally could do that now. I mean, I think that's the beauty of it, is like everyone thinks, oh, in high school, I got to teach them, all these things. No, do it now. They're capable.
And he's just really getting now into math. Like he has his math home. So he's learning how to add and subtract with items, right? So he can, if there's dollar bills there, he can count them and then he can subtract them and give the number. So he's able to do that. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing too, that was really great about what my parents did, is we had to do it, right? We had to do the ledger. Like we had to add it. We had to subtract it. We didn't like the subtraction. And then also adding in quarterly the 10%, it was like, oh, okay, moving the decimal and understanding that. It's like, wow. And the compounding interest of that, like, oh.
Would you recommend that even now, the 10% interest rate quarterly?
I would.
Wow.
Then it gets him thinking like,
investments, right? Because I'll tell you what, a checking account with 0% interest is not exciting. But with interest, who doesn't want to make some interest, right?
Why do I have it in here? Like for what? Like just
Right.
and especially like with inflation and things like that. Oh, okay, so we're not making any money. Like, yeah.
Right.
So start him now. I mean, I think it's great. And watch, he's gonna be an entrepreneur investor when he's like 8.
And my husband was on Wall Street for 15 years. So my husband loves all that stuff.
There you go.
And it's actually funny because, he's like the finance guy in our family. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, buying some stocks on E-Trade. And he like always like poo-poos because I'm doing it for my intuition. Like that stock feels right. I like that company because they have good ethics. Yeah. No, I'm not buying any pharmaceutical stock.
Like numbers. Like,
yeah, it's like, I'm looking at who's behind it and he's just looking at straight numbers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but and and that could be interesting as well, because those are two different perspectives. And I don't necessarily think that one is better than the other,
Absolutely. My husband's like that too. He's very numbers focused. And I'm like a lot like you, where it's like, no, like ethical and like who's running it and the behind.
Like if it's like something, a brand I'm buying, right? Like Lululemon or something like, I'm like, I use their products, right? And to your point, if you're going to use the products and you're buying it, why not own part of the company?
Exactly. Then you get paid, especially if they pay a good dividend, right? Then you get paid. And with that payment, you can buy more.
Yes.
In yoga pants. Like,
yes. Who needs the employee discount in the store when you can own the stock?
Exactly. Exactly. So those sort of concepts are really, and those are fun, right? Like those are relatable. They're not, just buy, an index fund. Okay. Like let's actually talk about the companies and what do they stand behind, and, what do they pay and what do they not? And as a young child, like we got that. And today we still as a family talk about it, and it's very fun because there are different personalities when it comes with 4 kids and different risk tolerances. And so it's fun to debate that, like, what are you looking at? Or, what do you think about that? Or, they just like, Facebook just lost their COO. Like, what do you think about that? Who's going to replace her? Like that sort of conversation is really fun and dynamic.
That is cool. So speaking of your 3 siblings, are you all entrepreneurs?
So I am. My younger sister, Brooke, is the one running the family business. So I would say that she is. And
yeah.
My next sister, Claire, she actually works for Facebook, or Meta, as they call it now. And she's 26. And then my brother, Peter, he is 24 and just graduated with his master's degree. So there's a pretty big age gap between them. So they got some time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest of the 4. Yes. Yeah. And I think that all of us have entrepreneur spirit, but it's just, I've taken the plunge.
Right. Like by starting your own company from scratch.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is very, very different than stepping into a 90-year-old business. Pros and cons to both, right?
Correct. One's not easier than the other, but yeah, it is very different. I know. So my business, I started 17 years ago, my chiropractic practice. And, it's funny when I go to networking events and I'll meet like, an insurance salesperson who works for like a big name, and like they're there as an entrepreneur because they're 100% commission, right?
Right.
So they're selling, but I'm like, you have the logos already done, your business cards are done, your website's done. Like you don't have to do anything except show up and sell a product that you were trained on, So it's like very different experience.
Yeah, that's more of like everything like was set up for you, like that's more of a franchise. Like
right.
You have,
and still you got to hustle, right? Like if you don't sell, then you make no money. It's not like a guaranteed salary,
Exactly. But very different from like bottom floor, like ground. Yeah. Like starting your own thing with like, where do we go from here? What, like, we're doing everything. Great. Okay. And the practice. Oh, okay. Wait, who does that?
So as we're talking about this, is when we're teaching our kids about financial literacy, I see how that actually gives them more of an opportunity to become an entrepreneur. Not that that's for everyone, right? There's got to be, I think, a personality to it as well. But it's less overwhelming to start your business if you have that foundation. And then maybe you still got to figure out the marketing and the other stuff, right? But at least you like know how to, budget and expenses and honestly, 17 years in, I still feel like I'm learning. Like I didn't have this foundation. So my financial background as a child was, I remember my dad was like, money doesn't grow on trees, very, very, very frugal, right? My father was very frugal, middle class. And it was just like, we lived very, within means, right? Which is a good way to live, but also without any creating more, manifesting, sky's the limit. And my mom was stayed at home. So I wasn't getting a financial lesson from her. So except I do remember she was wanted to take me and my sister shopping. We really wanted the Guess jeans, the triangle on our butt. And it was we had to sneak those bags in because they were $80 a pair. And we didn't want our dad to know that we bought $80 jeans. So
don't tell dad. Yeah.
That is not necessarily the healthiest way to teach finances to kids. Right. And this is also not intentional, like you're saying, it's just modeling and witnessing what you witness as a child. Exactly. But I love the idea. I mean, I'm very excited to start this bank for my son.
Yeah. Because 5, in case you're wondering, I have it all listed in chapter 5. So.
I love that. So because he would really get it and he would get really excited, and it can really I'm really looking for how we can switch this whole I want more, me, buy me toys. Bought a Lego set for his cousin's birthday last week. And he's like, I want that. Right. And it's just staring at it this is the most amazing Lego set ever. And I'm like, it's your cousin's birthday present, and he's really sad. And it's how do you get excited about well, you can have one of those one day too, but not just because mommy and daddy bought it for you.
That's right. You got to do the work. And there's that sort of, there's the delay, right? The delay, the gratification of the delay. And then also the empowerment when he takes the money and goes and buys it. And maybe actually he'll be like, I don't really want this. I want to save my money,
It's very possible. It's very possible because he also, I think he does like saving his money, but he likes to spend mommy and daddy's money. Right. And so to him, it's that's just an endless supply.
Everyone likes to spend other people's money.
Right. And, he does have a lot of toys, and it's every week I want a new toy. We're like, but you don't need any new toys, come on. Look around. So, I mean, and also I would say, just talking to other parenting experts, they would say you got to rotate the toy, at that age, it's they get overwhelmed and there's just all these tons of toys there and then they don't want to play with any of them. So right. It's I need something new. And there's a little bit of a hit, a hit for the brain, right? Yeah. Like a drug.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a video game. So it's we don't want to create these addictive type behaviors either for our children.
Exactly. Well, and I think going back to your point with, teaching him entrepreneurship, it's it starts with the self first. It's the same thing, right? Where you're okay, I'm, increasing my funds and lowering my expenses. Well, as a kid, you don't have an expense. Mom and dad are paying for it, right?
Right.
How can I increase this? And then my margin's bigger. And that's exactly translatable to owning your own business. Okay, more revenue, lower expenses, customer service. So you can do it at an individual level. And then it transfers. It's the same with the government. I mean, it's the same, it goes right as you get bigger and bigger. And I think that by getting him involved is so great because it will be fun for you to learn from him how he responds and, his sort of reactions to things maybe I don't want to spend my money, or maybe I want to wait till I get my 10% interest,
Yeah. So this also just reminds me of another question. So In general, psychologists would say there's like savers or spenders, like there's like that personality, I guess. And I'm wondering how much of that is we're born that way, or how much of it is from our environment, or is it a little bit of mix of both?
That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that, but I would be curious to go down a rabbit hole to figure out, to see what sort of data is behind it. They typically say that you partner with your opposite, like
yes,
that someone's a saver and someone's a spender.
To create some balance, right? And I think that is valuable because both are important, right? And there is that like equilibrium needed.
Yeah, but I think it's more than just black and white, right? Because it's like, well, what are we spending on? Like, what's important? So the spender is like, okay, is it just because we're getting that dopamine hit, like we're just getting things, or is it we're being intentional and we want to spend it on education and experiences, right? Like, and that's priority. And then the saver, on the other hand, is like, well, that's really great that you're saving, but we're going to spend no money on anything. Like,
right.
Talk about like the lack of abundance. Like,
right.
It's more of a scarcity mindset.
Yes, it is.
So I don't think it's as black and white as they say. Like, the psychologists say like, oh, one's a spender, one's a saver. It's like, well, there's more in depth than just that.
There's a gray to it. Yeah. And I think you're right. You can, so let's talk about like what the healthy, it would be saving and getting excited about investments and interest and that type of thing. Like that's exciting, right?
Sure.
To see money grow.
Yeah.
Understanding when you're investing in something at 4 years old, there's a lot like with college, right? There's like years and years of potential there to accrue interest, right? So by the time you're ready to go to college, your money has made a lot of money because it's years and years in the making.
Exactly. And how cool is that to see that? And I think too, with the compound interest, I mean, that's easy to do. The rule of 72, that's also actually listed in my book of like, how long is it going to take at what rate to become a millionaire? And that's so cool to like mentally like map it out. Am I going to be 60? Am I going to be 50? Like, when do I need to start? Like all these sort of, money behind, the math behind it.
Yeah.
And my parents were really good. We always talked about that. Like, it's like, how many years, what's the multiplication, and all that. But, talking about that and then getting excited about the future and like the possibilities, right? And maybe it will happen even sooner than you think because there's that like thought behind it. So what do we need to do? Okay, we need to go to college and get a good job. Well, what type of job do we need to start our own business? All those sort of like click, 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 in the brain is so great to have kids be thinking about that stuff early on.
It's really important. And then the other side is the spend, right? And I liked how you talked about the intentional spend. It's not literally, people shop for as an addiction to fill an emotional need. And that would be like the unhealthy spending. Or it's like, I really want to take my family to this amazing vacation. And it's like, have these beautiful magic memories together as a family and the experiences of this other culture and all of that can come with that trip, right? And seeing like, this is worth the value, right? That I'm going to pay this money and get so much value from it.
Yes, absolutely. And the time that you get together too, right? Like buying your time, I think is so important. And that's something my parents always taught us is like, buy your time because that's the only thing that you don't get back. And so by having these amazing experiences and maybe even it's education too, right? Like it's an educational trip or a field trip or a road trip or something like that. And it can vary from what you think like, oh, that's important to me, right? Like, so I love, spending, but with intention comes a different energy and a different like feeling behind it. Cause it's like, well, we can spend our money on things like, like not just this, like, yes, we need essential things, of course, but are we buying good food, good, healthy food for our bodies? I mean,
right.
that's important too. So
yes, it is.
Oh, there's
the self-care, right? Like that's a big mantra I have for mamas, especially, spending the money on your self-care.
Exactly. Like you're prioritizing yourself and your body and your mental space and your spiritual space. And especially being pregnant right now, I completely understand that. Like the adjustments are important,
Yes, they are.
tweaking.
There's so much that can help support you during pregnancy, after birth. I would say new parents especially need self-care because it's really intense to have a newborn. So, whether that you have to pay for childcare, right? So you get a break or, get a massage and get chiropractic, whatever, just to fill your cup up, right? So you can give to this little baby.
Exactly. And you have to spend money to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some self-care that you can do at home, very minimal cost, and that's great too, like a bubble bath or something. But, there's things worth investing in. And I think like when we look at, like, for example, if you're going to buy you can only afford either a designer handbag or like some body work. Like, to me, like the body work's going to win all day, right? Like if your budget is like, okay, I got $2,000 a month, like, then where's that money going, or whatever that number is, right? So,
yeah, my handbag can't give me a massage.
No, or an adjustment or acupuncture, right? So like, where's the value in those things? And it's like, I think that's also interesting. So back to intentional spending, when people are buying like luxury items, to really like, I don't know if that's like to help them feel better about themselves or the appearance to others, like where that's coming from. But how do we teach that to our kids too? About like, I was even mentioning the Guess jeans. That was really big when I was a kid. That ages me.
Guess jeans are really cool. They were really, $80 was really expensive back then. And even
really expensive.
When I was younger, it was like the limited 2 jeans. So it's like, I totally get that. But here's the thing, like, and I actually mentioned this as well, like, if that brings you joy, because there's whole movement of like things bringing you joy, right?
Yes.
They can bring you joy. So it's not to say, that it's really bad, or, it can be just neutral. It can be whatever it is and if it makes you happy and brings you joy, and it sounds like you love those Guess jeans, and I love my limited 2 jeans, so spending it on that is like, yeah, that is expensive as a kid, but how many times did you wear them, and how much did you wear them? They were probably your favorite jeans.
Favorite jeans. A lot of joy.
Right? So I think that there isn't necessarily, it's not always like, it's just, and it can be, right, fulfilling like a need or desire or a feeling for a minute, but it doesn't always have to be too. So about stuff and things, because things do bring us happiness. I mean, I know that I'm refurnishing a house and it's like, oh, that's really exciting. Like new appliances are very exciting.
It is.
It's like,
so I think it's like that balance between like having what we need, like an appliance is like kind of like an essential, right? Or maybe a handbag, which I guess we do kind of need a handbag, but like an expensive one versus
500 of them, probably not.
So like those things, but like then there's that where the items, like even maybe my son's toy collection, like they get out of control, right? And then it's like that's back to that whole decluttering. What do we really need? What do we not need? And even energetically, how when you have too much of that clutter in your house, how that impacts your life.
Absolutely. That was something that my family was really good at, like in terms of space wise. We were very intentional with having our, like that, going back to the chores, like having our room and zone cleaned and not too many things, and loving what we have and enjoying what we have. And we can have new things, but just, and then the joy of donating that. So maybe you get rid of your old toys and you give it to kids in need, or, things. And like, that's teaching philanthropy and gifting. And so I think that there's so many ways to bring in great, feelings around money, and having those conversations with you as the mom and your son as the child, and talking about those things. And I think that's really why I love what I do and my books, is because I want those conversations to come up, the why behind it. So And the money
Yeah.
messages, like you heard your money message from your dad was like, okay, like we don't spend money. Like
Yeah.
we only get what we need, but some things do bring us joy, like your guest jeans. I love that.
Yeah, they do. And thank God my mom got that, but it was still like everything was in secret and
Hidden, right? It wasn't like you couldn't be like, oh, look what we got. Like,
I know. It's just very funny. And so like even now sometimes like my husband and I, it's like we'll have, he's definitely more of the saver and I'm more of the spender, right? And so it's like sometimes it's like, what are we spending our money on? And I would say like, with inflation going on right now, even he is like, I just spent $4.50 on a cup of iced coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. He's like, what is going on here? And like the next week it was like 25 cents more, right? And it was just like really intense. We see it with the gas prices, everything, right? So,
absolutely.
it's like it's really important to have an awareness about like where the money's going and where does it not necessarily need to go. Like I'm thinking of a couple TV app subscriptions that I don't really use anymore. And I'm like still seeing the monthly bill. And I'm like, okay, I really don't need to spend like $40 a month on that. I should cancel it. And
Exactly. And then again, it's an awareness, right? So it's being aware of like what we're spending our money on and like, and so maybe you take that $40 and then you do like adventures with your family, things
yeah,
like that. So, redirecting it. And I think that's the really cool thing as you learn about finances and things like that as a child is like there is so much that goes with it and ties with it. And I love that there can be conversations around it. So yeah, I love this. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's been so much fun talking to you. I feel like we've gotten a lot out of it. So
totally. Is there any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
I would say that as my first family saying is I can do it. I would say to new parents and parents that are starting their journey is that you can do it. Be brave and have the courage to, start with your family, because I think that any sort of intention that you're bringing to your children or your family is just amazing. And you can just take one thing and do it. But just do it. You can do it.
Paige, how can people find you or find your book?
Yeah. So mydadsclass.com is my website. And then my contact information is on there as well. So.
Oh, okay, great. And then they can find your book on the website or Amazon.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Yay. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Phil, I had so much fun interviewing Paige for today's podcast. She's a wealth of information, no pun intended. And for me, the biggest takeaway from her discussion as a mother of a 4-year-old son who loves to spend money and loves to buy lots of toys is to create a family bank so that we can have him learn how to save and to track his money and to understand the value of interest and how when we want items, we have to budget and financially prepare for them, right? These are important life lessons to teach our kids. So once again, if you want to learn more about Paige and her book, check out My Dad's Class. You can also find her at Facebook or Instagram at Spend Then. And also wanted to announce the exciting news that my online program on preconception counseling, preparing for a healthy pregnancy and birth, is now live on the drlaurabrayton.com website. I also have my pregnancy and birth documentary, as well as an environmental detox program and a fertility ebook. So check them out.